Well, this is journalist Michael O. Varhola, and I'm here at Tye Preston Memorial Library's Butterfly Garden with one of the creators and docents of the garden, Susan Bogle. How are you doing today, Susan?
Oh, excellent. The sun is shining and the wind is blowing.
Well, it's a perfect day to visit a butterfly garden, so why don't you just show me around?
All right, well, just follow me through our wonderful butterfly gate here.
Oh, that is wonderful.
I want to point out it was done by a local artist, Margie Bivens, and I just want to point out that the butterfly, the body, is actually the camshaft out of, I understand, a 62 Corvette.
Oh, neat.
Now, I haven't gotten that absolutely verified, but that's what we understand.
All right.
And there's a lot of little treasures when you come here. Even when you open the gate, you'll notice we have a caterpillar made out of bolts.
So a lot of fun little details that anyone visiting wants to sort of keep an eye out for.
Oh, yes, indeed. The first thing is, luckily on a hot summer's day, we've got some nice shade here. And just to our left is another one of our art pieces, which is a butterfly bench. It's a bench created by Sherry Gansley and her sister, Cindy Wisdom. And it is in the shape of a butterfly, and then she adorned it with all these glass jewels, as we like to call them.
That's really neat.
To give it a look of, you might imagine perhaps a, almost a South American butterfly, to be honest, with those colors.
Sure.
You know, I could have said monarch, but everybody would have known right away.
Right. Well, you know, you and I were talking earlier for the story that I was working on for the new Braunfels Herald-Zeitung, and you pointed out that butterflies really inspire creativity, don't they?
Yes, they do. You just start talking about butterflies, and people get wistful and romantic, and the children are so kind out here when they come to see the butterflies. There's a little chasing going on, but most of the time they would just love it if they would land on their fingers. And so they're very gentle with it, and they're very inquisitive. One little girl in particular, name of Alice, had all kinds of questions, and luckily we have this wonderful interpreter who comes on occasion.
Right.
And that would be Craig Hensley from the Guadalupe River State Park. And he has trained Alice to be, actually she can capture legitimately the butterflies because she knows how to hold them absolutely correctly without hurting them or removing any of the scales on their wings. But we've got the pathway here leading around the garden. We didn't want anybody to walk into the garden just from the gate, look in and say, oh, okay, yeah, I see everything. Okay, gone, and head on their way.
Right.
They need to come in and explore because we have all kinds of little hidden treasures in here. What we've tried to do is, while it's a butterfly garden, we're trying to provide everything a butterfly is going to need, that being habitat, food, space to live. So we've got the plants that they use as a host plant. A host plant is what they use to lay their eggs and for the caterpillars to grow on, and they'll be munching that away. If you don't have a host plant, you're not going to have as successful a butterfly garden, but you have to be willing to sacrifice your plants because they do eat them to the ground.
Oh, really?
Yes, but that means it's a nice, successful plant. In that regard. And then, of course, all the nectar that they're getting from the various flowers. No one flower over the other will attract a butterfly more than the other. It depends on the butterfly. For example, the swallowtails, they like to get on a flower that is more conical because they are able to get their proboscis down and get the nectar, whereas other smaller butterflies are looking for something like a coneflower, something like
interesting.
that, because it provides a platform for them to land on. But one of the most successful plants we do in the garden is our blue mist. It's called Greg's Blue Mist, and I have been told that while its flower is not very dominant, not very showy, I understand that the chemicals in the nectar are actually helpful to the butterfly in their reproductive process. So we do tend to favor the blue mist. Matter of fact, we've just had a queen land right there on a blue mist flower right there. That's a queen butterfly. Looks a lot like a monarch, but this time of year that is a queen for sure.
Well, let's see how close we can get to her before she decides she's had enough of our attention.
I think she's kind of
There.
She was kind of hungry. You got her really pretty close.
So how many plants do we have in the garden here that were deliberately planted?
Oh.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's a keen observation there. You know, at one time, I could tell you, I know at one time we had a list of over 90 varieties.
Oh, okay.
Nowadays, I don't know if I could say for sure. Now we're into the maintenance phase of the garden, and so we're just keeping everything up. The master naturalists were key in the building of this garden.
Right.
And the master gardeners are key in the maintenance of the garden.
Got it.
Plus volunteers here at the library. No one person could have done this, nor can one person keep it up. Especially as it is today. I think it's close to 98, and I don't think we've had rain in over a week. So,
right.
So it does need a little help along. The original intent was to have the garden go through the normal cycles that you see in the Texas Hill Country.
Okay.
The majority of the plants here are native to Texas and specifically native to the Hill Country. It's not exclusive. We did allow some additional plants in for a little more variety and some cultivars. But the majority of them are very drought resistant, and so they really need just a minimum of care. But because our garden has turned into such an educational feature of the library, in that programs are held here, the Native Plant Society is getting ready to have a certification program the end of September. This is their third certification program that they've held here at the library. And it's because we do have plants like this for them to come out after an hour or so of lecture and come out and have hands-on experience with the plants.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, with the plants that they're trying to teach you.
So you actually hold classes out here?
Oh, yeah, very definitely so.
Oh, neat.
And that's part of the reason that we had to relinquish the idea of letting the garden go through the normal cycle that you would see in the Texas Hill Country, that being springtime, lush and lovely.
Right.
In comes the summer, everything gets dry and crispy.
Right,
and
exactly.
Up shows a fall rain, and then you've got lush and lovely again in the fall.
Right, okay.
But we don't allow it to do that because of the fact we have to maximize the utilization here in the garden. We want to make it available to the people who do want to take advantage of the opportunity to have those teaching experiences here. Not to mention, I am never in this garden without answering 3 to 4 questions.
Right.
And I'm here.
Right.
So
yeah, and you've answered a lot more than that today, so we've bumped up your average.
Yeah, we're teaching every time we're out here. So, and so we have areas that are full sun, we have areas that are total shade, and we have some that are partial shade.
And that's by design.
Yes, exactly. That way you have a variety of plants in here. We tried to follow the philosophy that was popular when the garden was first put in about 4 years ago. More like 5 years ago now that I think of it, and that being, you don't plant 1 or 2 plants. You have this 100 plants in here. What you do is you plant fewer plants but in larger quantities because the butterflies are going to respond to a mass planting as opposed to a single plant.
Sporadic individual plants.
Yes, yeah, very definitely so.
And I am seeing that. That's right. There are big installations of certain plants like what is this that I'm looking at?
This is actually indigo spires, and this is a cultivar. It is in the salvia family, but it is not native to Texas.
Okay.
But it is such a dramatic plant and has such a presence.
Yeah, it is.
It is something we wanted to have here, especially in this particular location, to draw people in. And then we have other plants. As I had been talking about, we've got some plants that bloom literally all year round.
Okay.
And other plants that bloom maybe just for a month at a time.
Okay.
But you cannot come into this garden without finding at least 1 to 2 plants blooming, even January or February, because we planted that way intentionally. We also wanted to include some plants we knew were particularly attractive to the butterflies, like the blue mist I mentioned.
Right.
You know, we've got over here, it's called thoroughwort or white bone set. It's not blooming right now. It'll bloom for about a month in the fall, And guess what? The butterflies will literally leave the other plants and come to it. They love that nectar so much.
Oh, interesting. So they have their favorites.
Oh, yeah.
Nectar isn't nectar.
Apparently not. I haven't quite figured it out. I don't know if it's the intensity of the nectar, the intensity of the value that they're getting from it, or if it's the chemicals that they're getting from it.
Do different types of butterflies have different favorites?
Yes, very definitely.
Okay.
So the queens seem to really enjoy the blue mist, as do
Okay.
the monarchs. And as I mentioned, the swallowtails are going to go for like some salvias that we have here.
Right.
Also the Turk's cap, the flame acanthus, because they're able with their proboscis to go down into more of a trumpet type flower and get the nectar. Others don't have quite that same ability, and so they're going to be attracted to other flowers. Also, their size probably determines the flowers that they're going to be interested in also.
Sure. And this is a beautiful piece of art, isn't it?
I know.
So this is not just natural beauty here. You've got some created beauty as well.
We are very fortunate. This garden is not an inexpensive garden. We actually have it valued because our insurance company asked for that value.
Oh, sure.
We actually had to bottom line it, and I was so surprised to find out what everything cost that was put into this garden. And that's the hardscaping, the plants, etc. But the library itself actually did not write a single check or hand me a single dollar in this regard, because just like most things with the Tye Preston Library, as we say, built by the community for the community, this was definitely built by the community. Everything in this garden has been donated by the community, including that iron tree you were just looking at, which is one of my favorites. It is the only plant in here that I don't have to water or trim. So it is absolutely my favorite. It is an iron tree. Again, this is made also by Margie Bivens.
Okay.
And it's called the butterfly effect. And anybody coming to the garden, I hope will take a moment to notice, because in looking at the tree is supposed to be a redbud tree. It's a section of a redbud tree. If you look from left to right, the form of the tree changes, and its dense foliage on the left, and to the right it becomes more fine, and you can see through it. But then all of a sudden you realize you're seeing all the butterflies on there, literally having leaves morph into butterflies.
That is pretty neat.
I have counted.
What an elegant piece.
It is amazing. And it was donated by a member of our community very generously in her mother's memory. It's a very dear piece to all of us here. I've counted the butterflies on this innumerable times, and I've never come up with the same number. So
I bet that's pretty typical.
Well, it's kind of hard. One day that leaf looks like a butterfly, and another time, no, I think that's a leaf today.
Right, exactly.
I'm going for a leaf.
But I guess that's what sort of makes it a compelling piece of art.
Oh yeah, very definitely.
You can't always be sure.
And the great thing is the timing of your article, because I always say this garden looks its absolute best in September and October, which goes against your natural thought, knowing that we are coming out of a long, hot summer. But because this is native, drought-resistant garden, it's actually peaking then. And last year, when the monarchs came through in October, we actually had a really good migration here, and I was out here one day, and they were not being real active. They were staying on their plants and not mixing between them, and I counted over 60 butterflies in here one day, then finally gave up and just started enjoying them. It was just absolutely amazing.
I guess that's sort of the moral of the story then. People should just come here and enjoy it and learn something about our native plant and animal cultures.
Very definitely. And I said at the end of this, build it and they will come. And the butterflies came and the people came. And it just gives me so much joy to see, and satisfaction to see people walking in here. And it's a very hushed atmosphere because people are learning,